A child who was sexually abused, and she grew up in a not great house, and those lies just were so deep, and the enemy really wanted to kill her, steal everything she had, and destroy her. And you know what? He almost did. She lost her children to prostitution. She was on drugs. She lost her self-worth. She really just felt like, why am I even living? Right? And when you're at that point where you even think that you should be alive, I mean, you're there. You're on the edge. And I love her testimony of just how God created a new creation in her, and how she cried out to the Lord and He saved her just as He promises. A couple stories. She was in a bathroom in a hotel. She'd just done a job. She was going on to the next one. And she just started travailing. She said, I didn't even know how to pray. I'm not a person of faith. I'm far from it. But she just had the spirit of, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be this anymore, but I don't know how to change. I want my kids back in my life. I want my life to be different. She just began to cry out to the Lord. And not long after that, she was going out to do another job, and she said the locks in the car just locked up. She couldn't open her door to get out. She felt the Lord was saying, no, we're done. This is done. You are done here. It is finished. I'm doing something new in your life. And through that, the Lord restored her, and the more she obeyed His voice and trusted Him, the more responsibility He gave her. So now she's an advocate for women who are in prostitution, who really, really, really believe that they're worthless, that they're only worth what someone will pay for them. And you know what? Most of the times they're not even getting that money. They're trafficker or their pimp is. And so can you just imagine for a second the scenario of Jamie on her street ministry walking up to a woman who's in this situation, and the woman telling her, you don't know my pain. You don't know what I've been through. There's no hope for me. I'm done. You can't change this. Imagine the power in that moment where Jamie says, I know who you are because I've been there. Let me tell you about what God has done in my life and what is possible. And so I just really appreciate what she's doing, because, you know, the area of prostitution has obviously such a negative view, and sometimes we forget that these are people. And we forget that these are lives that are really trying to be stolen. And I really appreciate that she's walking up to the invisible people of this world, the broken, and she's saying, I see you, and God sees you. And you are still loved, and you still matter. Now, and she's just doing phenomenal things, and she has such credibility because she's lived through it. So, I want to encourage you guys to just pray for this project. I firmly believe in prayer, that the Lord speaks to us, that our prayers as incense to the Lord, that it changes things. So please, when you go home, if you don't have a prayer time, make it before you go to bed. Just pray about the LBD.Project, that the Lord's blessing would be over it, that His hand of protection would be over it, that we would know clearly what His will is, and that we would step boldly into that. And then ask the Lord how He wants you to be a part of it. Whatever that is, if it's participating, if it's learning more about trafficking, if it's donating. And then I want to challenge you to be obedient to what the Lord is asking you to do. Because we don't always know why the Lord's asking us to do something. But I'm telling you, it's so much bigger than us. And then on a personal note, I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't say this. If you are somebody who has had pain or tragedy or something in your life to where you feel you're too broken for God, or you're too broken for the promises of God. I remember sitting in the pews hearing pastors speak about the power of testimony and thinking, nobody wants to hear my story. It's too bad. It's too dirty. It's too shameful. No one wants to hear that. And I just challenge you today, if the Lord can do something in my life and remove me on the path of destruction and shame and fear, and truly, truly make me a new creation, why can't He do that for you? Why can't He do that for you? So get with somebody who knows what you're going through. Talk to me. Talk to somebody. Definitely talk to the Lord, because I promise you, you are in the right hands when you bring it to Him. Amen?
Amen.
Thank you.